So if you have vanilla, you gotta go, okay, it's coming off the side. That's all right. That's the good thing about ice cream and syrup. You can always make it work, right? Because there's, it's messy, but it's good still. What's up, everybody? My name is Marquise. I wanna ask you a question. Have you ever seen something that made you think to yourself, this just isn't right? Or maybe this just isn't fair? I'm sure a lot of you have experienced something similar to this. We all experience things in our everyday lives that can seem unfair. And then other times, it can feel like things were made right. Let me explain what I mean. You did the majority of the work for a group project in science class, but the teacher gave the most outgoing kid in your group most of the credit for the A that was earned from everybody. Do you think that's fair? Thumbs up for fair, or unfair? Thumbs down. Go ahead, let me see you. Thumbs up, okay, I see yours. Okay, yours is thumbs down, I understand that. Okay, now think about this. Your parents grounded you for not cleaning your room, but your little brother's room down the hall is always a mess. Somehow, he never gets punished. Let me see those thumbs. Thumbs up for fair, thumbs down for unfair. Let me see them. Okay, I see you guys, all right. How about this example? During a soccer game this past weekend, you drove the ball down the field, passed it, and one of your teammates scored a goal. That's a good thing, but they got voted most valuable player and you didn't get recognized at all. Thumbs up for fair, thumbs down for unfair. Let me see it, okay? All right, here's my last one I wanna show you. A bully has been saying mean comments on social media to your best friend. This is your road dog. This is who you hang out with on a daily basis. You report this bully and their comments were removed from the post. Is that fair? Thumbs up. Or unfair? Thumbs down. You see, I think it's usually pretty obvious when a situation is made right. You feel like all is good in the world and that things are fair for everyone involved. But that heavy feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when you know something isn't fair, the frustration you experience as you think this isn't right. You feel those things because you've experienced or witnessed something that we like to call injustice. Injustice describes things that seem wrong or unfair or unequal. It's the opposite of justice, which is what happens when things are made right. Now, I know these may sound like some pretty big ideas, and you may even be thinking, why should I care about injustice as a middle schooler? Isn't that something that old people deal with? Well, believe it or not, injustice is happening all around you. Let me tell you a story about something that happened to me. I remember being in middle school, right? And I loved playing football. Your boy was very good at football. Let me give you a little snippet of what I'm talking about. Blue 42, St. Hank. Okay, that's just a little bit. I don't want to give you too much, okay? But we played football. And I'll tell you this, every time during PE, we loved playing football, and it was co-ed, so all the girls and the guys, they got on the field together, we played football, but it was flag football. Well, there was this one time where I was on defense, and the opposing team, the offensive team, threw the ball to a girl in their team. As we all approached her to pull her flag, one of the guys on my team pushed the girl down. The girl started crying, the PE teacher turns around and sees me standing next to the girl and assumed that I pushed her down. At that point, she sent me to the principal's office and your boy got detention. Why would I get detention for something that I didn't do? You see, in that moment, even as a middle schooler, I realized that that was injustice. Now let me ask you this. How many of you actually like when things are unfair? Nobody does, right? That's why the Justice League exists, okay? Some of you understand what I'm talking about. It has Batman, Robin, of course. Aquaman just came out, right? That was good. Honestly, that's all I know as far as the Justice League goes. Superman. I don't know a lot of these. All right. We all like justice because we want things to be fair for everyone, especially ourselves. It's easy to speak up or recognize the way injustice is wrong when it directly impacts us. Some of us have experienced quite a few injustices in our own lives, while others of us may have experienced very few. Depending on our own unique situations, it can sometimes be hard to think about what it's like for other people to go through things that are just plain, flat out unfair. But here's the truth. Injustice is happening in our world all the time. Just one quick scan of the news proves that there's all sorts of stuff in our world like poverty, hunger, war, bullying, natural disasters. When we think about it, it can all seem very, very overwhelming. And honestly, even if you see and recognize the injustices that are happening in your school, community, or even across the world, it's hard to know what to do about them. You know they're wrong or that things seem unfair. But as a middle schooler, stepping in to help in any way can make you feel a few different things. Maybe you hesitate to help because you feel powerless. You might think, I'm just a middle schooler. What can I really do about that problem? I mean, it's pretty unlikely that you'll be able to solve the injustice of poverty in other parts of the world before you finish the 8th grade, right? You know, it's nice to help, but why bother when you know you're powerless to make a real difference right now? Sometimes we avoid speaking out about injustice because it feels risky. Maybe you worry that people will think it's silly to try and get involved in issues of injustice. Or maybe you're afraid that you'll fail, that what you try to do to help just won't work. That would be really, really embarrassing, right? Or maybe you're afraid speaking up about injustice in your school will turn the attention towards you. If you stand up for the bullied kid, you don't want the bully to come after you next, right? That's a risk you just don't want to take. Or maybe you avoid doing something about injustice because it feels awkward. We want to do something or say something, but we don't know how. It feels awkward to try when we don't even know where to start. Listen, I know there are a lot of reasons that keep us frozen when it comes to injustice, but I think there's one reason, a much bigger reason, that could inspire us to move. To discover what that is, we're going to look to Jesus. In the book of the Bible called Mark, one of the 4 gospels that tells us the story of Jesus during his time here on earth, we read about how we can address injustice and need. As the story starts, Jesus is walking down a road with a massive crowd of people swarming around him. That happened a lot in Jesus' time. But just outside the crowd, sitting on the side of the road, was a man named Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus. Got it. Was a man named Bartimaeus who was blind and begging for help. This guy had been sitting there for years, begging for money because it was his only way that he could survive. Because he was unable to see, he was unable to work. I think it's safe to say his life was a little unfair. When Bartimaeus heard Jesus walk by, Bartimaeus cried out to him. In a crowd so big, it would have been easy for anyone to miss just one of the many voices calling out for help. That's what makes what happened next so interesting. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many rebuked him and told him to be quiet, but he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called to the blind man, "Cheer up, on your feet, he's calling you." Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked him. The blind man said, "Rabbi, I want to see." "Go," said Jesus. "Your faith has healed you." Immediately, he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. Think about this for a second. There was Jesus, surrounded by a massive crowd of people. And what did he do? By this account, he stopped and helped just one. You see, Jesus saw people's needs all the time, but he didn't just stop at seeing them. Jesus acted on them. He did what he could to help. And on this day, Jesus saw one need that he knew he could meet right then and there. And so he did. So how does this apply to our lives and the injustices in our world? Well, one of the most common reasons we don't help people is because we don't notice them or their needs. We ignore injustice because it's not impacting us directly, or because we don't take the time to notice, or it's because we don't know what to do about the injustices. Rather than look out and see it, we simply stop noticing. But that's not what Jesus modeled for us here. No, Jesus looked out. He saw a need, he saw an injustice, and he acted on it. He did what he could to help, and that's what he wants us to do as well. When we see an injustice, he wants us to do what we can to help. While God might not work through us to give sight to a blind man, although that would be totally awesome, we can look out at the needs and injustices around us. And we can choose to start with just one. It's what Jesus calls us to do. When you see an injustice, do what you can to help. So where do you start? Well, this week, I want to encourage you to start looking out for the needs around you by doing two things. First, I want you to pray. I know that's the churchy answer. We always say pray, but it's powerful. I want you to pray and ask God to help you see people the way Jesus did. Pray that God would help you see the needs of others, especially those who are experiencing injustice. Because trust me, if you simply ask Him, I think God will show you the needs around you, the injustices in your home, your school, your team, your community, and even the world. Number two, I want you to pick one. Remember, when you see an injustice, do what you can to help. So start with just one thing that you see that doesn't seem fair or right, and then ask yourself, what can I do about this? Maybe you can find a way to help the kid at school who doesn't seem to have friends. Or maybe you can offer to help a family member because you notice they do most of the work in your house. Or maybe you can donate to a charity or volunteer somewhere to help a need in your community. You might not be able to solve the problem, but you can do something. You can start with one, just like Jesus did. So as you head out today, I want you to think about this question. What is one need or injustice I've noticed in the world around me?